Okay.
Your title nearly times on this phone here. So.
Okay. Okay, if I start? Yes. Okay, thank you. Tēnā koutou katoa. Haere mai ki te komihana tirotiro aitua waka. Ko Jane Mears Takawenua. Good afternoon, welcome to the Transport Accident Investigation Commission. I'm Jane Mears and I'm the Chief Commissioner of the 4-member Commission. The Commission determines the circumstances and causes of air, sea and rail accidents and incidents with a view to avoiding similar occurrences in the future, and it does not ascribe blame. The Commission's authored 2 separate interim reports on our ongoing inquiries into 2 recent fatal helicopter crashes, accidents near Wanaka, and each being published today. The first accident saw a Robinson R44 helicopter crash into the Stevenson's Arm area of Lake Wanaka on the 21st of July this year. And in the second, a Hughes helicopter crashed into the ground near Wanaka Airport on the 18th of October. I'm not going to talk for very long today. I'm going to note the main points of evidence in each of the interim reports and take questions on each accident immediately after each explanation. The Commission has been supported in its investigation by our investigation team, and the Chief Investigator of Accidents, Captain Tim Burford, joins me today. I first want to just take a minute to talk about what an interim report is. We issue an interim report when we determine that there is a need to put on the public record the facts established so far in a matter of particular public and transport sector interest. So interim reports tend to be short, setting out facts and noting prospective lines of inquiry. They don't always include statements about safety issues or recommendations. To be clear, conclusions as to circumstances and causes of accidents and incidents are found in the Commission's final reports and not in its interim reports. Our 2 inquiries are ongoing, and so all evidence and the role that evidence might have played in each accident sequence is subject to further investigation. So turning first to the accident which involved the Robinson R44 helicopter in July 2018. The wreckage was found on the Lake Wanaka lake bed, approximately 500 metres northwest of Stevenson's Island. And the wreckage recovered in the days after the crash is now at the Commission's technical facility in Wellington. A number of key pieces of evidence are worth noting. The main rotor mechanism includes evidence symptomatic of mast bumping. Mast bumping is contact between an inner part of a main rotor mechanism and the main rotor drive shaft. The evidence shows that the teeter stops for both blades were crushed, which indicates that the helicopter experienced mast bumping at some point in the accident sequence. And there's also evidence that the main rotor blade has struck and entered the cabin in flight. There are score marks on the blade that match screws on the canopy bow, and there are scoured paint on the screws. The same rotor blade has marks matching damage to the flight instruments panel. No new safety issue or recommendation has been identified at this stage of the inquiry. But that said, mast bumping is always a concern for the Commission. So this evidence and the role it might have played in the accident sequence is subject to further investigation. Further lines of inquiry include, but aren't limited to, a more detailed examination of the altimeter, telecommunications and flight tracking data, the weather conditions at the time and location of the accident, the pre-flight condition of the helicopter, the weight and balance of the helicopter, the engine performance, and an analysis of the events leading up to the accident. That concludes the points I want to highlight from the interim report, and if there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them now with Tim.
Can you explain why it is always to get us.
Well, the mass bumping can be causative of an accident, or it can be a consequence of the accident. In this case, we don't know. It's too early to tell which.
Obviously, you have raised concern about this issue of although that's, why is it concerning of it?
Well, as it is always concerning to see evidence of mass bumping, but as Tim has said, we don't know where it happened in the sequence. So it could have happened after the causative event of the accident. So that then would not be, the event would not have been caused by mass bumping, and we just don't know yet.
Do you think it is significant to note, though, that's past, that's why you take it so seriously?
I think it's a fatal helicopter crash, and so we are always taking fatal helicopter crashes seriously. I don't know that we can be quite as conclusive as you might indicate.
Excuse me, can I make ask a question? If possible.
So this is
Yes, that's the RNZ.
Yep.
In April 2017, I said the Commission asked for testing done on Robinson because of mass bumping. Did that happen? What were the results of that?
So the question is that in 2017 we asked for more testing to be undertaken on Robinsons, and whether that happened, and if so, what the results were.
So Robinson has been undertaking further testing, and that testing is ongoing in response to the Commission's recommendations.
I just wanted to say, sort of follow-up question to that, my last one on this. Do other helicopter makes and models have the same mass bumping rate of problems?
The Robinson helicopters in New Zealand, there's a high rate of mass bumping problems, and that's been itemised in our watch list. There are other kinds of helicopters that are also susceptible to mass bumping, so it is not just Robinson helicopters.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you. So turning to the second interim report that we are releasing today, that's for the Commission's inquiry into MD Helicopters Hughes 369D, which crashed into the ground near Wanaka Aerodrome on the 18th of October. The helicopter departed the aerodrome at 10:53 a.m. with a pilot and 2 occupants on board, and it was on its way to a remote staging point for an airborne wildlife culling operation on the Landsborough River Valley area. 2 experienced instructors who were airborne nearby saw items coming out of the helicopter towards the tail rotor. They described the helicopter starting to rotate and descend, saw the tail section separate from the helicopter in flight, and saw both the main rotor blades and the fuselage continuing to rotate until the helicopter struck the ground. It caught fire on impact, and the accident occurred at 10:55 in the morning. The pilot and the 2 other occupants both died in the accident. A major safety issue highlighted in the Commission's interim report is the risk posed by loose items in the cabins of helicopters. There's evidence that a pair of overtrousers that had been packed in the cabin came out of the helicopter and got entangled in the tail rotor. Paint marks on the overtrousers matched the colour and profile of the tail rotor blades, and marks on a tail rotor blade match a zip and dome connector on the overtrousers. The Civil Aviation Authority has reminded aviation participants of the risk of loose items in the cabins of helicopters. Evidence has also revealed 3 incidents in the month prior to the accident in which the doors on the accident helicopter opened in flight. Effective safety management depends on such incidents being reported to the operator and investigated, but none of these occurrences was recorded in the operator's incident reporting system. So the Commission has recommended urgent action by the Director of CAA to remind aviation participants of the importance of reporting incidents in accordance with civil aviation rules. The investigation is continuing, and further lines of inquiry include, but aren't limited to, the following things. Evidence suggests the left rear door of the helicopter opened and separated from the helicopter in flight, and this line of inquiry will include the door latching system, the door maintenance, if there have been other similar events with the helicopter type, and if there are any relevant differences between the bubble and flat windows in respect of their aerodynamic behaviour or security. We're also inquiring in relation to the helicopter weight and balance, the helicopter engine condition and performance, and the helicopter maintenance records. That concludes everything I wanted to highlight about this interim report. And again, if you have any questions, Tim and I will be happy to take them.
Just to confirm, we haven't found any evidence in the past of this type of helicopter that door open?
This type of helicopter or this helicopter?
This type of
There's incidents of door openings on all types of helicopters.
It's not something that's systematic to this type.
Not that we've found so far.
How concerning is it that those door opening incidents were reported?
Well, they should have been in accordance with the CAA rules, so it is of concern, yes.
Why is that?
Well, it's too early to say whether they were in any way contributory to the accident. So I'm reticent to suggest that that they were linked. But if the door had opened before and there was something wrong with it, and that's one of the things that we're obviously going to be looking at, then maybe it might have been something which could have been addressed.
Are there issues in the aviation sector or these sorts of incidents happening, door opening, something else going wrong and not reporting it?
Well, that's a very big question that I probably couldn't say without investigating every operator, and that isn't the focus of our inquiry. We're just going to look at what happened in this case, and hopefully, if there are any lessons to be learnt, we'll be able to carry out our statutory purpose, which is to tell people about those lessons and avoid occurrences.
Can you talk through the reporting procedure that should have been followed before?
So it's a requirement under civil aviation rules that all incidents such as that are reported. And the reason it's important that they are reported is they should be investigated, find out why they're opening, and the idea is to stop it happening again. That's why it's so important.
What's the time frame that they should be reporting?
As soon as possible after the event.
Mark, the ODT, do you have any questions?
Simon, I'm missing quite a few comments and a few questions. I've got two questions to ask that may have been asked already and answered. Just to be clear, previous incidents of the door of this helicopter opening, were they reported to CAA?
No, they weren't.
But they should have been, is that right?
Well, yes, yeah.
And just one other thing, the overalls, can you tell me why they were loose in the cabin? Were they belong to somebody who didn't go on that day?
Too early to say.
Okay, thanks.
Do you know that we were
No, we don't know yet.
Any more questions? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Good, thanks, Brian. Are you going to take us an email or some sort of the...
Yes, I'll do that right away.